Hi everyone, and welcome to the Dassault Systèmes Gardens near Paris. I'm Whaley, and today we're here with Frédéric VACHER, the founder of the 3DEXPERIENCE lab. Hi Fred.
Hi Whaley, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. Today we'll be visiting the 3DEXPERIENCE lab, learning a little bit more about its purpose and what it does. But before we get there, tell us a little bit more about how it started.
Actually, it started 6 years ago.
Okay.
The 3DEXPERIENCE lab is the open innovation lab of Dassault Systems with the objective of accelerating and supporting disruptive startups and projects that strongly impact the society. So in that purpose, we are monitoring the 17 SDGs, you know, the 17 Sustainable Development Goals from the United Nations, in order to identify and source innovative projects that strongly impact.
Wow, that sounds incredible. I heard we're also going to meet one of the startups accelerated by the lab. Is that true?
That's true. A few of them are here in our campus, so let's get there and meet them.
Let's go. So this is it. This is the 3DEXPERIENCE lab.
You're inside.
How exciting. Can you tell us about the different aspects of the lab?
So we accelerate two types of projects. We have a startup accelerator so that we help them to scale up and to success. And we accelerate communities of passionate people who are working together to achieve a common goal.
How would you define the 3DEXPERIENCE lab?
It's a global impact lab, as I mentioned, and we want to really take project early stage. So you know those two or three guys in their garage, and help them to scale up, to internationalize, to connect with other partners and industrials. You know, at Dassault Systèmes, we know all the industries at a very high level, so it's very easy for us to open doors and to connect people. We connect small startups with big industrials on this, on a worldwide standpoint. So really what we want to do is not to bring ideas on PowerPoints, is to deliver on value, and it's to really bring projects to life.
And I know there's an aspect that has to do with a fab lab.
True. In the 3DEXPERIENCE lab, you have four main quadrants.
Okay.
You have the immersive lab, you have the data on ID lab, you have the virtual twin lab, and you have the fab lab. So the fab lab is an important piece of it because it's where we prototype things, it's where people meet and learn. By the way, it's a word invented by Dr. Neil Gershenfeld from the MIT, and we are working with him in close collaboration with all these network of fab labs around the world.
So they're actually creating things in the fab lab.
Exactly. You make things, but before making things, what you need to do is you need to design things and engineer things. So it's where Dassault Systèmes is coming in the loop. You need to design, and obviously we launched, by the way, new apps that are fully online on the browser, so for makers to very easily access to those apps in order to express their creativity.
Are there multiple 3DEXPERIENCE labs?
Yes, we have one in Paris here in the headquarters, the original, one in Boston in the North America campus, one in India, and breaking news, we are opening a new one in Munich.
Oh, wow.
Exactly, and next stage will be Shanghai to cover the Asia Pacific. With the lab, we want them to be hubs. These labs are platforms to federate the local ecosystems, to connect with our employees, because at the lab, we are not one team. We are all Dassault Systèmes. Everyone could bring 10% of his time on the daily activities to provide his skills as a mentor of the lab.
And how many projects are you guys actually working on now?
Currently, we are having about 50 projects under acceleration, and it's about 10 new projects per year. We want to focus on very promising projects, and really what we want to do is to go to the success to these projects.
So we talked about virtual reality a little bit in the beginning. Any chance we can try it?
Definitely. So we've built the virtual world of innovation, an immersive experience so that you can experience all the projects around their virtual twin. So let's teleport ourselves in the virtual world.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah, where are we?
We are in a virtual world of innovation designed by the 3DEXPERIENCE lab team, whereby, like in a trade show, you can walk around and have a look, visit the different themes.
Are all of these stands different projects?
Each stands are featuring a project, whatever a startup project or a community project.
Accelerated by the lab.
Exactly.
Wow,
all those
that's
projects
a lot of stands.
Are accelerated by the lab. Let's discover this one, which is coming from a French startup, Damae Medical. They are developing a new device over there that helps dermatologist to detect potential skin cancer that the dermatologist is applying on the skin of a patient. And there is a kind of 3D scanning up to the derm in order to provide imageries that is analyzed with artificial intelligence. And with a pattern detection, it can potentially help to detect skin cancer or melanoma.
Without any biopsy, no cutting, just a
applying this device
Wow.
on the skin of the patient.
What's this?
This one is coming from Norway, as
Okay.
you can see there. And they are developing an autonomous robot, maritime robot, to take back all the rubbish and all the waste from the harbors. So
By itself?
by itself.
Wow.
So he's having two bins, front and rear,
Okay.
and he's monitoring potential wastes and bring them back into pods that are constructed on the harbor.
And how is the lab working with this startup?
So as you see with the virtual twin, we are helping them to design and engineer this machine, and most importantly, to industrialize this machine.
Okay.
Also, we are helping them to connect with other industrials, potentially to come to a trade show to present their innovation, potentially to cross-border, so set up in another country. We just announced recently a new one called Hopper, a French startup willing to reconcile circular economy and handicap.
Wow.
So maybe you don't know, but in the aerospace industry, there are a lot of composite materials. They are recycling composite materials in order to create blades, as you can see here, for handicapped persons, for them to run again. And the composite blades is done from different layers, composite layers that are assembled. And it's pretty expensive. So recycling from the aeronautics is making the blade very affordable. I have a surprise for you.
What is it?
The Hooper team is here. So let's go back in the real life and meet Victor.
Sounds great.
Sounds
Thank you
good.
so much for showing us around.
Thank you.
We're back in the real world with Charlotte from the 3D Experience Lab and Victor, the general manager of the startup Hopper. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Wayne.
Hi.
How you doing?
Great.
Excellent. Let's jump right in. Victor, I know that the Hopper just recently joined the 3D Experience Lab. Could you tell us a little bit more about this innovative prosthetic?
So Hopper is a French startup that aims to make sport more accessible to leg amputee people thanks to the upcycling of carbon material from the aeronautical industry. Amputee people in their daily life use a prosthetic foot that they can use to make real activities at their home, but especially when they want to run, they have to get a carbon blade. But the problematic is that today the carbon blades are very expensive and difficult to use for amputee beginners. So we chose to design a carbon blade that will be more accessible and more versatile and more easy to use than the current blades.
Could you develop? How is it easier to use?
It's easier to use because it's more soft to use for beginners, and we aim to reduce the cost by using the carbon waste from the aeronautical industry to make it half as much as the current prices on the market. So it will be more accessible for everyone, and our main goal is to enlarge the public that currently practice sport among the amputee community with a more accessible product. This product is also more versatile thanks to a sole change system, and this blade is also very useful for difficult grounds such as in the mountains, for example, and with one blade and one sole we can run on roads, on the difficult grounds such as mountains, on the track, running track, and this blade will offer new opportunities because the current blades are developed for running for athletes on tracks for competition.
You're really making it more accessible for the general public. So could you tell us a little bit more about how you're working with the lab?
The lab enables us to design our blade. It's a carbon part that looks simple but is very difficult in internal structure. So we have to design the shape and then to make some structural scenario to create a safe product and to predict how it will react when it will be used by amputee people for sport on different ground. We have to use 3D tools to predict that.
Charlotte, could you tell us a little bit about the other startups that work with the lab?
We have today around 50 startups accelerated at the lab. It's a 2 years plus 3 years program. So overall, it's a 5 years program. So they stay with us for quite a long time. As the lab has been created 6 years ago, our first startups are actually leaving us and flying alone.
Leaving
but
the
we have
nest.
some new one coming. We have some new babies coming in the nest. so very happy. 50 startups that we classify around 3 themes. First one is city, for example, new buildings, smart facade, new mobilities, smart mobilities, life for everything in medtech, health tech, medical devices, prosthetic, and lifestyle for consumer good and packaged goods.
So inspiring. It must be great to come to work every day and know you're changing the world.
We are very lucky.
Yeah.
We are.
So I know that you're always looking for the next disruptive product, innovative startup.
Yeah.
How can people join the lab?
So first, they have to meet our criteria, which are quite strict. The number of places is quite limited. We accept 10 to 12 new startups maximum every year. Yeah, we are a big company, but we are very selective. So first, the project has to be disruptive. Second, early stage, and we are very, very strict on the early stage, but it's for their own good because Dassault Systèmes software, the suite of softwares, allow you to start with the sketch, then to go to the design simulation, and then to end up with the manufacturing. So if the startup joins us quite early, it can really benefit from the whole suite of softwares that we actually provide. Then to have a positive impact on society. For that, the startup has to answer at least one of the UN SDG, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals.
Great.
There are 17 of them, and the startup has to answer at least one. And then our last criteria is to leverage collective intelligence, but actually meaning the startup has to be in need of the 3DEXPERIENCE platform and Dassault Systèmes solution, as this is part of what we provide to them when they are accelerated.
I'd argue everyone needs it.
I hope so, I guess.
I think so. Okay, so Fred mentioned earlier today that you guys don't just work with startups, you also work with
makers, entrepreneurs, and artists in residence as well. Starting last year, we have our first artist, which is Kate Reed, which is based in Waltham, in our campus next to Boston, but we now have one in France, and her name is Ninon, and I think she's here today, so I hope you get to meet her.
She is, and I can't wait to see what she's working on.
It's an amazing project. You'll like it.
But first, I just want to say thank you so much
thank
for
you.
taking the time
Thank you very
to
much.
introduce us to Hopper and the rest of what the lab does.
Thanks for coming at the lab.
Thanks for having us. Hi, Ninon.
Hi, Wiley.
How are you today?
Great, and you?
I'm pretty good. Can you tell me a little bit about your work?
So I'm a computer engineer and a multimedia artist. Currently, I work at 3DEXPERIENCE Lab on a brain-computer interface, which is a mask that displays the emotion of the wearer with optic fibers in different colors. This mask contains a brain sensor that will allow to scan the brain of the person. There are like 2 electrodes here that can really capture your brain signal.
And they can tell your emotions.
Yes, it's like I'm able to know a range of emotional state like relaxation, excitation, like valence and arousal.
What happens once it knows your emotions?
So each emotional state is mapped with a color in the optic fibers, and there are also animation. For example, if you reach a peak of excitation or a peak of relaxation, there will be an animation like blink or wavy when you are relaxed and meditative.
Oh, it must be really beautiful. So can you tell me a little bit about how the lab has supported you?
I was more in touch with coding process than manufacturing process, because in the past I used to use 3D graphics and animation for my art, but it's the first time that I'm using 3D for manufacturing process, and working with a generative shape, I was able to do some quite complex and organic shape that is able to be 3D printed, which is something in the past I just generate complex shape, but just for art. I never tried to 3D print.
It's a beautiful shape. How did you come up with it?
Actually, I was inspired by something quite poetic in the work of neuroscientists, because when they scan the brain, they amplify the electricity in your brain to study your emotional states. This design, even if it looks a bit like aquatic, we don't really know, but it's, the first idea was more from electric fields that are amplified around the head.
And how do you see this being used in real life?
My first idea was to make it for an artistic wearable, wearable computer. A second application of this mask would be for more therapeutic purpose, for autistic child, for example.
It's very beautiful. Are you working on anything else? What's next?
So my next project will be still with art and science, mixing neuroscience and visual art. So I'm working on generating 3D visual from the dreams.
Wow.
So that you can be able to see your dreams in virtual reality.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah, so I've already started to work on this, actually scanning the brain of sleeping participants during their dream. And from their dream, I am able to know if the dream is happy or sad, and which area of the brain is activated, like is there movement in the dreams. The 3D Experience Lab provide me a brain scanner that is a very quality of neuroscience lab, so now I can go further and study more the dreams.
Thank you so much for sharing your work with us, Ninon. We look forward to seeing what you do next.
My pleasure.
There you have it, everyone. We just learned how the 3D Experience Lab works with startups and innovators to make a positive impact on the world. So thanks for watching, and see you soon. Bye.